Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your Smiger 31. Got a name game slate to start off our Monday, starting at 7:20, so we get a few extra minutes to tinker with our lineups. So let's get into the breakdown here. So first up, we have Cincinnati Reds at Atlanta Braves. Maybe a little bit of rain here. There's a couple of rain games on the slate. It's gonna be the first two we talk about, but nothing that looks like it's gonna be like super threatening, so it should be okay. Hunter Green and Ronaldo Lopez. I think Hunter Green is definitely in play here. The Braves are not the Braves. They lost another piece yesterday, um, with Albies getting hurt, and boy, I think he broke his wrist. Gonna be out like 8 weeks. Like the hits just keep on coming. Like Acuna, Harris, Strider. It's just been and Freed, I believe, went on the IL also. So this Braves team just can't cut a break, and their strikeout rate's trying to creep up there too. So I think Hunter Green is definitely in play here. It's not in the Great American Small Park. It's in Atlanta. It's only 79 degrees, and the wind's going to be blowing in. So I think he's definitely in a great spot here for you. Lopez on the other side too is if you're paying up is and paying up 9K is like not bad. There's no real expensive pitchers on this slate. So Cincinnati definitely has some strikeouts in their lineup, and they've fallen out of the top 10 recently, but they at times that can definitely flare up. Lopez has had a solid season, and I expect that he can another solid game here and should have the win upside as their favorite. So bat wise, I think Cincinnati is just going to be a leverage stack, and Atlanta makes an interesting GPP one just because they still do have some decent hitters in this lineup. Um, Green has had some off games, and if he's going to be very popular, maybe it's more of a leverage play. But I think in GPPs, Atlanta stack could definitely be something that people are not on, especially with all the injuries now, and it could pay off if they do well. Phillies and Twins, Ranger Suarez and Bailey Ober. Suarez has struggled a lot recently. Like he had a solid start to the season, but the last few starts is just still a decent ground ball pitcher, but still giving up like runs and hits and stuff. And the Twins, even though they're still banged up with some players out of the lineup, Correa, Lewis, that there's and I think Kepler too. But I think they still have a decent enough offense here. They're going to go very right-handed heavy against them. So Suarez, I don't think I'm really going to be playing any of them. And Bailey over on the other side here, like Philly has actually had a decent offense, and the wind's blowing out slightly here, but I don't think it's going to help like hitting a super amount here. This one has about a 40% chance of rain, and the heavy rain comes like 11 or 12, so they should be able to make it through the whole thing. But it all depends on where the storms are. If they storms look like they're going to stay north of the stadium, but if they start further south, and maybe be impactful. So just keep an eye on this game here. So not playing Suarez, maybe play a little over, but I like so many other options tonight. Bat wise, Philly, I think is my second favorite GPP team against like the leverage Atlanta stack there. In Minnesota would be my second favorite cheap one. They're not super expensive here. Like now that Lewis is out of the lineup, like Buxton's your most expensive one. He's been doing better recently, but you're talking like Margot leading off at 3-6. Castro's had an amazing season, kind of out of nowhere at 4-5. Jeffers, who hits well against lefties at 4-3. Brooks Lee, the shortstop that he brought up at 4K. I mean, you definitely have some really nice priced options here that have the split advantage against a struggling pitcher. Now, again, he's a ground ball pitcher, so maybe he'll be able to mitigate the damage, but I'm going with if the Twins are going to have a decent night against him. Chicago White Sox and Texas Rangers, Fedde and Lorenzen. Both pitchers are like $200 apart, and I think both of them might get you like anywhere from like 11 to 14 DK points. So if that does it for you, that's fine. Obviously, the White Sox don't have the greatest lineup, but we have seen them every so often uh, put a game together. I've always said this; they're always a sneaky stack, and Noah, who's on our FSi team and got a great baseball mind, like it's his favorite team, and he constantly is playing them, hoping, and sometimes it hits, but like it's just so hard to pinpoint like who's going to be the one um on this team. But I don't mind taking a shot in like GPPs here as a cheap stack or a leverage stack against Lorenzen. Again, I said it's just so hard to nail down like who is going to be the ones to go off in it. And if you nail it right, then it could be very profitable because Lorenzen is definitely vulnerable, and the Texas bullpen is average. So Lorenzen on the other side, I just can't do it. Like I said, Fetty, I'm not going to touch him against this Ranger team. This Ranger team, probably my fourth favorite one on the slate here. Simeon Seager is like really cheap at 5K. That's an amazing price here. Smith, Garcia struggled. Langford's has been okay, but I don't like the split low there. Heim, um, they've called up Forcus. He's only like 2.1K, so if you want to do like a wraparound stack thing, like there's so many different ways that you can go here for the Rangers. Milwaukee and the Cubs. This is actually a decent pitching weather here. The wind's blowing in Wrigley like 5 miles per hour. It's only 74 degrees. So Myers had a great start his first time out, and even though the Cubs will probably go pretty right-handed heavy against him, I mean, I think that helps too. You have Bush and Tauchman in the lineup, but you've lost a huge left-handed bat. Um, it was injuries, so that's gonna, and Hap's a switch hitter, so that and definitely can help them out a little bit here. But I think Myers is solid, somebody in the cheap range to look at here. Assad on the other side, like he started out the season pretty good, but still hasn't recently. Just I don't see him putting up a lot of strikeouts or a lot of points here. I can see. I think I'm going to put him in the fade or more no interest in fade category. Like if you're mass multi entering and you want to throw him out there just because it should be decent um, pitching weather there, but you definitely have some decent lefties here and some bats on the Milwaukee team to potentially go out there and have a decent game. Like each side only has a 4.25 total, so it's not like it's down in the threes like we've seen with some of them these games recently that they thought were going to be pitching matchup, but it's not like super high either. So again, this is kind of like a vanilla game, and maybe a game like this could make or break the slate. Like St. Louis went off the other night, kind of out of nowhere, and I kind of looked at that game and felt the same way. Like it was like not a game that I was really considering, and I've been doing on DK. I love the achievements. I love when they have like the home run hunt. So I've been trying to like stack every single team like the dime, and I think and there weren't enough dime contests for my all the stacks. So I was building a Friday because it was a huge slate. It was like 11 games, so I had to put some in the quarters. And actually, there was two St. Louis stacks that I had in the quarters trying to capture a home run from the team that actually ended up winning like $20. So that was pretty fortunate there. But a team, if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't have been on that night. So again, it's like sometimes, if you're playing GPPs, like look at these games that kind of look like they're evenly matched, vanilla, nothing really pops out, and maybe just in a dollar put a stack, and that's sometimes how you can have the leverage and take down a GPP if for some reason that team just goes off. The starting pitcher gets a blister or something, or eat like the bad like gas station sushi and wasn't feeling well, and just goes up a bunch of runs and turns into a bullpen game, and then they just go ham on them. So not saying that's going to happen this game, but I think these are some of the things that you look for game theory wise. So Myers, I'm playing Assad. If I'm 150, yeah, maybe a little bit of exposure there. Bat wise, Milwaukee, I'd probably stick to the lefties here. Trang, Yelich, Frelick, Mitchell, and maybe mix in Adamas and Contreras if you want to go full five. And then Cub wise, just maybe Bush, Hap, Talkman, uh, yeah, Suzuki's been good both sides of the plate too, so maybe mix him in there. But I don't think I'm going with Crow Anderson or anybody else on the team. Next up, Arizona and Kansas City, Gilbert Diaz and Cole Ragans. So Diaz, I'm not interested in. Kansas City just seems to be putting it together recently, and they are like in K's. They have just out of nowhere really found this plate discipline and have been doing well. Their bullpen's been like pitching well. They've moved into number three in ERA there, so a lot got some good starters. So uh, if they can stay healthy, they might be uh, one of those surprising teams, kind of like Arizona was last year, that made it all the way to the World Series. I mean, they've got some big giants they got to knock off in the AL. Houston's still there, Baltimore's still there, Yankees are still there, and there's probably a bunch of other teams. I'm not going to list them right now, but their work's always going to be cut out for them in the playoffs. But I think they're coming together at the right time. We'll see what they do with the trade deadline and go from there. Uh, not playing Diaz and Cole Reagans, I think definitely is in play here. But I think Arizona makes a very sneaky leverage stack because I've always loved Arizona right-handed bats against a lefty. So Marte, Moreno, Gurriel, Walker has annihilated left-handed pitching. So if you're just taking one off here, but Grichuk, I think you can really play the top five bats here in a GPP and feel comfortable about it, especially Reagans, who will probably have like maybe 20 to 25% ownership just based on his name and up against the Arizona team that's been kind of struggling. It's neutral hitting weather in a neutral park, so it's not like if they're in Coors or Fenway or Wrigley and the wind's blowing out. It's great hitting matchups. So I think Arizona is somebody else that I'd consider, and then Kansas City, probably my fifth favorite stack on the slate here against them. Even though Arizona's had a decent bullpen, they're right behind KC and ERA. Uh, Frazier has been okay. Look, hit a home run like once a month. I think that's already happened. Witt's just been solid, but it's hard to get up to a 6.4 K price tag. But Pascalino, I like Massey. I like the bottom of the lineup. Maybe mix some of those people in. Have a little bit of speed, hit for contact, and those points can add up for you. So. Coors Field, Red Sox and Rockies, Tanner Houck and Austin Gomber. I think Houck is in a great position here. Colorado is now up to like 30% K rates with their current lineup. And I think that he has been strong enough, even though he's going to Coors Field, that he can go out there and potentially dominate. It doesn't matter what the wind is like in Coors Field, but or what the weather is or the park factor if they can't hit the ball. But speaking of the weather, the wind is actually blowing in a little bit. It's 81 degrees. So, I mean, that's the wind's not blowing out. That should help a little bit there. So, I think Houck is definitely solidly in play. I have him as a GPP, but if you want to venture in cash now, I had him as GPP before I saw the Rockies. Before I redid my sheet, and actually I should update this here because I did this today uh, to see that they had such a high strikeout rate in the last 14 games. Not 14 days. We didn't like the All-Star break doesn't factor in there. It's like the last 14 days that they've played games for when I sorted it. And just to see that K rate, I think Houck's definitely going to play. Gomber, I don't really like it. I know the Red Sox have kind of struggled at sometimes against left-handed hitting, but they have some really decent power hitting righties here that I think that can make his life not not good tonight, but again, if you're trying to take down a GPP and want to take a 5K Gomber to get and hope that he goes out there and the Red Sox are right behind Colorado in strikeouts. So I mean, it's risky, but that's what you need to do sometimes to try to take down a giant tournament is go with somebody that everybody else is going to pass by because they think they're a horrible play. And if for some reason it works out, the leverage you have on the field is absolutely incredible. So the Red Sox are going to be the top stack in the slate. And if you want to go through Gomber out there at 5K and it helps you and the Red Sox go out there and they strike out and they don't put up runs and they have trouble adjusting to the altitude there, and then one of the other top stacks, like the Dodgers or Houston or Texas, are the ones that go off, and you're able to get all the bats in there because of the 5K Gomber you're playing. That could very well work, and I think I'm really talking myself into one of those builds tonight with Gomber. So I have him as a fade, no interest. But you know what? Honestly, let's see. Sometimes it's fun to talk out these slates here, so we'll move them over, and that's why you just don't like turn on the video and just look at the sheet and think, okay, that's where we're at. So sometimes talking these things out, going game by game, really helps us discover some things. So Red Sox obviously in cash, if you can get them in, and they're relatively cheap. Reese Snyder should be leading off. I think that he had got pulled from the game early, but the coach said he's fine. O'Neill is probably one of the best plays on the slate here against the lefty. Duran hit a home run lefty lefty. Devers can hit home runs lefty lefty. They're both over 6K, so you're probably going to get one in your lineup unless you're punting, and you're not going to punt with a Gomber against a team that but some of the other ones you might be able to work into your lineup to get enough, but it's going to be hard trying to get like 6K bats in there. Wong, I love it, catcher at 4-4. Romney to Gonzalez at 4K. Westbrook at 3K. Even a wraparound Rafaela has got some power and it's got a lot of speed there. It's almost like having a couple table setters there with him and Reef Snyder, kind of as a wraparound with Duran, O'Neill, and Devers behind them. So I like all those. And for the Rockies, Buck's been good. Blackman, McMahon, probably the lefties. Tovar has been heating up a lot recently. Toglia, I'd probably just go with those. Skip Doyle, so I'd probably just go 1, 2, 3, 5, a 4-man stack. Wouldn't play any of the other Rockies. I'd probably just go a 4-4 there. Colorado and four from another team or one us, however you're going to build. Los Angeles Angels and Seattle Mariners. Tyler Anderson and Bryce Miller. Tyler Anderson's got to be somebody you got to consider here because he has not been the worst Angels pitcher. Like he's had some bad games, but he's actually had some good games too. And Seattle strikes out. If you didn't watch any baseball yesterday, Rodriguez got injured running to try to catch a ball, like tried to jump up onto the outfield wall and severely sprained his ankle. So he's probably going to be out of the game. So that Seattle, even though their strikeouts has dipped a little bit, like still at 26%. There are Ks here. It's they sent France down because he was really struggling and had brought up like Locklear and some of these other pieces. So we'll see how this lineup rolls out, but it's not a scary lineup by any means here. So I think Anderson's got to solidly be in play in the mid range, and then Miller right above him, I think, is a solid play also because the Angels have not been great this season either. I mean, they do have some power. Sometimes I like them better against lefties and righties. The only thing with Miller is they're kind of treating him with kid gloves as they do with most young pitchers and don't want to go super deep in the game. So he's going to need to do his damage early because he might get pulled after 5 or 6, even if he's pitching a no hitter. Like we just see that nowadays with young arms. Like, okay, great game, but sorry, you've thrown too many pitches. We don't want to risk you blowing out your arm, and we're going to pull you even though you haven't given up a hit or a run. So there's always a downside there. That wise, I think Miller's going to be pretty popular. So the Angels, like I said, I play him every single slate. Um, Stick with the lefties here. Even though Hopi, I'm not okay with like ready on ready, but probably going to go like Maniac, Calhoun, Hopi. Again, I like him so much better against left-handed. I really don't like him against righties. So but my commitment to pay the Angels every single day has been more profitable than not. Haven't taken anything down this season. A couple close calls, but for most part, I usually just break even just because the cheapness of the stack usually gets the secondary stack I put with them, and the pitchers in there usually give me enough points to carry me over the finish line there. Seattle, I think they're my favorite cheap stack on the slate here. Like I said, Anderson is good, but Robo's 2-4 should bat second here, taking over for Julio Rodriguez. And he has had 5 steals in the last 4 games. Darver, Raleigh, he can only play one in catcher. At FanDuel, he can play both of them. Polanco, Moore, I really like this 2 through 5 or 6 in the lineup. Even Locklear, I don't mind at first base. He's first couple games up, he had like 2 home runs in the first 3 games, and then the last 3 games he's had zeros. But I think it's a decent matchup for him there. Houston and Oakland, Arrighetti and Hogan Harris. Not interested in Harris at all. And Aaron Getty, like he's been up and down and up and down and up and down. But I think this is definitely a boomer bust situation where he could be a decent play in a GPP here because Oakland, even though they've fallen down in strikeouts over the last week or so, and actually have like risen up with power, and actually at once part before the All Star game, like they spanked Philly. I what they have like 19, 21 runs or something like that. But even the games before that, they were up in like the high single digits. So there's definitely something coming together in this Oakland team, but they're back in their home ballpark, which is more a pitcher's ballpark than a hitter's ballpark. So that kind of bodes well. And I think Oakland has a lot of potential going forward. But so it'd be interesting to see like what happens when they get out of this like ballpark with a ton of fall territory where it's easy to like catch like pop flies and stuff that should just be foul balls into the stands and other stadiums. So I will see going forward once they move out of Oakland and go to where they're playing next year, and then eventually probably to Vegas, how that transforms this team. But definitely a young, interesting team. Looks like Toro's back. So, anyways, Aaron Giddy, I think's in play here. Um, Hogan Harris not playing. Houston definitely is probably going to be my third favorite stack on the slate here. I just like Boston and Coors, and I just like the Dodgers in their matchup against Nell, who is a lefty, and he had one good game recently. I'll get to that in the next game, but overall, he just has struggled this season. I know he's had injuries and stuff, but back to Aaron Getty, I think that he's somebody that you can play in GPP. Hogus, no. Houston at bats, yes. He's a lefty here, so Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, lefty on lefty, I'm fine. He just hit for the cycle a couple days ago, I believe. So he's been doing decent. I saw an article about like somebody that caught the baseball and was trying to get it to return to him. Maybe that happened before the All-Star break, but looking at his current news. Diaz Pena, like there's so many different just Singleton is probably the only one I wouldn't play here. I think everybody else is definitely in play against the lefty, and the Oakland bullpen is like declining, so the is at least over 4.21. So I think there's some potential there. And then Oakland, I definitely take some shots in as like a cheap stack against Aaron Getty. Like Butler has just been amazing, and I still can't believe his price tag at 3.5. The guy has power, the guy has speed, he's leading off, he's everything Elio Ruiz was, and just can't stay healthy to get to the top of that lineup. Blade is definitely someone at 3.8. Some really good Seth Brown. Rookers has been 5.3. I don't know if I'd play that for him, but Langoliers is a catcher. There's some decent bats here that have some power and potential. Toro, like I said, is back too. Switch hitter. We'll see where he hits in the lineup. He's That's actually kind of a revenge game because he came up with Houston, so that might be an interesting narrative to go and look at there. And then finally, we have the Giants and the Dodgers. Blake Snell and River Ryan get called up. Snell, like I said, I don't think I want to play him. I want to put him on the not interested list because, yes, he had one good game recently, but he's been bad this season. And I've seen the Dodgers just absolutely unload on him in the past. Like they know him well. He's been in their um, division with the Padres, and now he's with the Giants. And I just love the right-handed power here. Like lefty lefty, I'm fine with Otani, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez. Rojas is banged up. He's probably going to be out of it, but Pagas has power. Definitely, we'll see what happens there. River Ryan on the other side, I think is interesting against San Francisco, but he's probably going to be on a pitch count as a young pitcher, so we'll have to see there. His upside might be a little bit limited. So San Francisco bats make cheap ones. They'll probably throw as many lefties as they can out there, as they usually like to try to mix and match. So Soler's been okay. Lamont, Wade, Bailey, Conforto, whoever you want to take there. But I think they're more GPP and a late night hammer. But I love the Dodgers as like I said here, Otani, lefty and fine with Will Smith, Hernandez. Rojas will probably not be in the lineup, even though he's projected to. The coach said he'll probably miss 2 to 3 games with an injured leg or something like that. It wasn't something serious. I think they did X-rays and they're negative, but he's going to need a couple days of rest. So Pagas should move up in the order. Chris Taylor's been okay. Vargas has been okay. Kiki Hernandez, can hit a bomb every so often. But I wonder if with Rojas out, if Lux will come back in the lineup, even though it's lefty and lefty, he has been on a tear since the All-Star break. So we'll see how that plays out there. So that's all the games. Let's look at the build to get you on your way for your Monday. So I am taking Green and Miller or Hulk as my SP2 there, but Green's definitely my SP1. And then give me Boston and give me Seattle. So Wong, O'Neill, Reef Snyder are the ones that I'm definitely fixating on. I'll let you and Robos, I think, if he's batting second for just with the speed that he's had in stealing bases and batting second, just would be outstanding play at 24. But I get it if you want to take one of those outfielders and try to get Duran in there, even though it's lefty and lefty. I'll let you decide if you want to go third base and play Devers. You might have to drop your SP2 on that to have enough salary to get a 6K salary in. But you can always throw like Dylan Moore and for the Seattle stack in there at third base or take a one off. For GPP, Myers and Arrighetti are the pair that I like. Myers in that Wrigley game where the wind's blowing in, so it should be a good hitting environment. And Arrighetti, like I said, I'm going to take chances against the A's there. But I don't hate it if you want to go like Tyler Anderson against Seattle, who's been striking out and has another injury too. I get that might be a pivot in that range also, but or just go Green and cash and GPP as your SP1 there because he's only like $400 more than Aaron Getty anyway. So I mean, you're so close there, might as well go for it. It doesn't give you the leverage, but it does match the field in that aspect, and then just make your bats different. So I'm going Minnesota. I'm going the Dodgers. So Jeffers or Will Smith there, Otani, Castro, or Lee at second base. Timo Hernandez and Pagas is where I'm going out there for outfielders. So I'll let you decide which Minnesota outfielder you want to throw out there, or if you want to go with like Vargas, or whoever else, or move Otani to outfield, and maybe if you want to go with the switch hitting, um, Carlos Santana there at first base. I mean, that might make sense to make your lineup work. So lots of different ways to go. If you have any questions, put in the chat below. Hit me at Omega31 on X, formerly Twitter. If you want more information on FSi DFS, you can go to the video, and our pricing page is right there. And if these videos help you, continue to help us back, like, subscribe to our channel, and share with friends. So thanks for watching. I'll have the video tomorrow for Tuesday, so I'll see you then. I hope your week starts out great with green screens at the end of the night, and you know how to get a hold of me if you have questions. I'll see you next